Siberius, and we about to get serious. It's the real Siberius, making fanboys furious.
Hello, YouTube, and welcome to The Real Siberius. On this episode, I want to talk about my problem with analytics in the NBA. My issue with analytics is they only tell a part of the story. They give you numbers and metrics, but fail to reveal the context. The analytics say that the three-point shot is the best shot to take as it offers the highest point value. However, it is a lower success rate shot, and I feel like they failed to take that into account. These teams seem to live and die by the three. Rather than simply incorporating the shot into their game plan, they make the shot their game plan and work around that, forcing a lower percentage shot into situations where it doesn't make sense. This is one of my major issues with the NBA right now. Every team is a carbon copy of every other team. There are no team strategies or team dynamics. They are all playing the same game and going about it in the same way. In the 80s and 90s, and likely before, but I was too young to watch, every team had an identity. Some teams were physical, some were highly defensive, some played primarily in the paint, while others played on the perimeter. This forced opposing teams to change their strategy. You had to plan how you were going to play each team. It required more team chemistry, more efficiency, more fluidity. You had to be able to adapt and change on the fly. Creativity seems to be a thing of the past. Creativity, to me, is what made the NBA so great. Yes, there were plays and schemes, but often the play was the foundation. The execution could deviate greatly because the chemistry and creativity of the players on the court, they could modify the play in real time and make it work. I never played organized ball myself. So I lack the education, implementation of vocabulary to break down the game in the same way that AOH can or other channels can. I only played street ball, and quite frankly, I played it poorly. And while the game is similar, it isn't the same, and I don't like to pretend things I don't know. What I do know is the overall focus and reliance on the three-point shot has taken away from the game. Just because it warrants a higher point value doesn't make it the most valuable shot. To me, as a fan and as a player, the mid-range is where the game is won and lost. Going to the paint is great. Shooting threes is great. But a quality mid-range shot in the right moment is unbeatable. In the modern era, they've forsaken the mid-range game, almost to extinction. This makes me sad, as I genuinely believe it's the most beautiful and fundamentally sound shot in the game. I think that's why I struggle to watch the NBA. When I would watch the Knicks or the Bulls or the Pistons or the Pacers or the Lakers in the 80s and 90s, every single one of those teams played the game in an entirely different way. Every team in every game looks exactly the same. It's just boring to watch. I think the last game that I watched part of, they shot 55 three-point shots. That was one team. One team shot 55 three-point shots and made 17. That's a lot of missed shots. Like, at that point, analytics be damned. If the analytics are correct, your players aren't good enough to execute it. So you got to change the plan. But they don't seem to change the plan. And I think a part of this is coaches have been robbed of their ability to coach. I mean, they're standing on the sideline, they're seeing the game, they're seeing what's taking place, they're reading defenses, or, what qualifies as defense now. And they don't really have anything, they don't have go-tos. They can't say, they're playing us soft on this side, or they're leaving so-and-so open. from my understanding, from what I've seen in interviews, in other YouTubers' content, a lot of teams don't even practice nearly as much anymore, which also plays a part in why there are so many injuries and similar injuries. You can't go from 0 to 100 and expect not to hurt yourself. McZuggins did an amazing breakdown on one of AOH and Sports and Fitness Rant's live streams where he talked about why those injuries are happening. And McZuggins, if you hear this, man, you got to make that video. Not even just for everybody else. Fuck it. I want to see it. But anyway, coaches don't have the ability to coach. They don't have the ability to challenge players. They don't have the ability to push players. It's like power is lost. A coach has to have power. He has to have the ability to say, you're going in, you're going out, we're going to do this. And then there has to be consequences. And they've just robbed them of that ability. I don't know if there are great coaches in the NBA. How the hell would you know? I understand, having watched as much basketball as I have, Phil Jackson was an amazing coach, but if he didn't have Jordan and Kobe leading those teams, would he have been as successful? Probably not. But I do believe he deserves a fair amount of the credit because he was the man behind the machine. And because Jordan was so incredibly coachable, it worked. But like I said at the beginning, analytics only tell part of the story. Like it's great to be able to look at those numbers and maybe adjust your game in moderation to fit those numbers. But when the numbers become your game plan and then you work around that, it just seems like a recipe for failure. And I'm sure that there are people that would say, oh, they're scoring 130, 140 points a game. Well, that's easy to do when there's no defense. What's really interesting to me is there are so many people that claim that this is the most skilled era. But in the game that I recently watched where they shot 55 three-point shots, the majority of those shots were uncontested. Like, okay, you may have had somebody in front of you, but they weren't in your face. They may have put a hand up. That's not really contesting. And they're still only making 17 of those 55 shots. That's just poor basketball. I would like to think if I personally took 55 three-point shots, I could make 17. I would certainly fucking hope so. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the analytics of the NBA, both past and present? I think everyone would agree they rely too much on the three-point shot. But how do you feel about the mid-range game? How do you feel about the mid-range game in the modern era? I'm curious. I was going to say, please let me know. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you made it to the end. If you did, I certainly appreciate it. As always, I want to give a shout out to the content creators that inspired me and continue to inspire me to do this. Uncommon Sense, Angry Old Hoops, Self-Researched NBA Facts, 93Z, Sports and Fitness Rants, Uncut Hoops, Speam Engine, In Your Face Hoops, Eddie TV, King Speech Row, Goatcast Hoops. I always appreciate your guys' takes, your perspectives, and your humor, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.